Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yoan Hadig, and I'm here with the DC Board of Elections talking about ranked choice voting, what it is, what it will look like here in DC, as well as how we got to the implementation of it. So first and foremost, ranked choice voting is coming to DC starting in the June 2026 primary elections, and that is because of an initiative on the November 2024 general election ballot, also known as Initiative 83, which part of that initiative allowed for the implementation of ranked choice voting, and DC voters voted overwhelmingly to Initiative 83 supporting it. So 73% voted yes on Initiative 83, which was the initiative that was on the back of everyone's ballots. As a result of that, the DC Council decided to fund ranked choice voting beginning with the primary election, and we at the board have been tasked with implementing it moving forward. So ranked choice voting will take place for the following offices, starting from the president and vice president and all the way down to our advisory neighborhood commissioners. So long as there are 3 or more candidates running for that specific contest, voters do have the opportunity to rank candidates instead of just selecting one, as we've been done in the previous voting system. The only exception to ranked choice voting are those state and local party elected offices. Those will not be subject to ranked choice voting. And so ranked choice voting has multiple formats. There isn't a one-size-fits-all. It all depends on the jurisdiction. There are other states and cities that have also implemented it. DC is not the first. But in DC, ranked choice voting and the implementation of it is governed by the legislative, which was written by the proponents of Initiative 83. So we at the board are using that legislation to administer the rollout of ranked choice voting. And the idea is that the selected candidate will win based on whoever has majority of the votes, so 50% plus 1. And voters have the opportunity to rank in order of their preference up to 5 candidates instead of just selecting one. And so this is an example of a ballot, a specific contest on that ballot. As you can see, there are multiple candidates, and then you have the option to rank 1 candidate per column. The accurate and the correct way to complete your ballot is to select and to fill in only 1 oval per row and per column, ensuring that you only give 1 ranking to 1 candidate. As mentioned earlier, you can rank up to 5 candidates. You do not have to rank all 5, but it is an option. And ranking other candidates does not harm your first choice at all. So the rankings of the other candidates only take into effect if your first choice candidate is eliminated. But if your first choice candidate does stay in the race, then your vote will always stay with that first choice. Voting and ranking is not required. It is up to the voter's discretion, but we do encourage voters rank so that they're able to exercise their full voting right and power, and to ensure that their vote does get transferred to their next preferred candidate if their first choice does end up getting eliminated. So this example just shows how to completely and accurately fill it out, making sure that you're fully filling in that oval and not making any other markings within the ballot that might actually hinder the voting machine from reading your selections. This person has made sure that they've only selected 1 both per row and per column. You do have the option to select a write-in candidate, and you can rank them the same way that you rank other candidates whose names already appear on the ballot as well. And so now I'm going to talk a bit about some mistakes and how to avoid them to ensure that all of your votes do get counted and none of your contests become invalid. So the first thing is giving multiple rankings to 1 candidate. This does not help that candidate at all because you only have 1 vote. Even if you do rank, only one vote is counted at a time. The only reason that we ask that voters rank is if that candidate, is who is your first choice does get eliminated, your vote will continue to get transferred to other candidates that you might also prefer. But if Donald Duck is already out and eliminated, you no longer, your votes will no longer get transferred to someone else because you've only selected Donald Duck, and Donald Duck is already out of the race. So it does not help if you rank the same person multiple times. And so anything at the point after the first ranking in this case would be marked as invalid. So red marks invalid. Your second and third choice will not be counted. Now for the next mistake, it's giving the same ranking to multiple candidates. We do not know and can't determine voter intent, and so we automatically have to invalidate that contest because we don't know exactly which candidate the voter actually wanted as their second choice, but every ranking and selection before that double ranking will count and is deemed valid. So in this example, the candidates selected was Beyonce as the voter's first choice. If Beyonce were to get eliminated, this contest would be marked as invalid because they ranked Donald Duck and Chuck Brown as their second choice, and that is not allowed. So everything in red and anything after that double ranking will also be marked invalid. So their vote just stays with Beyonce the entire time. And the next mistake is skipping a ranking. In this case, it's just a mistake to skip one ranking. The legislation allows for one skip. In this case, the voters skipped their second choice ranking, but ranked their first, their third, and their fourth preferred candidates. What happens is their remaining rankings actually just move up one. So if Beyonce, the voter's first choice candidate, is eliminated, we go into a second round. Their votes will now get transferred to Donald Duck, which was their third choice option technically, but it'll move up one. And if Donald Duck were to get eliminated, their vote will now go to Chuck Brown, which was their fourth choice, but because it moves up one, Donald Duck will go in that third round of tabulation. So it becomes an issue and your ballot becomes, or your contest becomes invalid when you have two consecutive or two back-to-back skips, and that is because of the legislation that is in Initiative 83. It allows one skip, but at the point of that second skip, it allows your ballot to be marked as invalid. In this case, the voter did not select their first and second choice ranking. Because those are two back-to-back ones, this entire contest will be deemed as invalid because the first two were not selected. So they selected Chuck Brown as their third choice, but that will not count because of that. So no votes will count for this voter in this case, in this contest. They will not have voted for a mayor. And again, so the idea of ranked choice voting is to select a winner that receives majority of the votes. If in the first round there isn't a candidate that passes that 50% majority, we will go into tabulation process, which is when we actually transfer votes by eliminating the candidate that receives the fewest number of votes each round, and their votes will then get transferred to the voter's next choice candidate, so on and so forth until we receive a candidate with majority. And you can rank up to 5 candidates again, but only one vote at a time is valid. So you only have one vote. You do not have 5 different votes if you choose to rank all 5. And your vote will always stay with your first choice unless that first choice candidate of yours does get eliminated. So now the tabulation process, this will outline how we determine a winner. These are candidates A through D, and the circles represent the votes for the respective candidates. So there isn't a candidate that's past that 50% threshold. Because of that, we do have to go into a second round in which candidate C is eliminated because they received the fewest number of votes at 3. and their votes will get transferred to the voter's next choice candidate. So when that happens, the green dots are now distributed to the remaining candidates based on how voters voted for that in their rankings. There still isn't a candidate that's past that 50% line, so we do have to go into a round 3, and with round 3, candidate D will be eliminated. And in this case, when candidate D is eliminated and candidate D's votes are transferred over, as you can see, B does pass that 50% threshold, so B would have the received majority of the votes in this case and would be declared the winner. And this is different from the old voting system in the sense that it's not the candidate that receives the most number of votes that wins, but the candidate that receives the majority of the votes. So that does look a bit different, and that's why we encourage voters to rank, because a candidate must reach that majority threshold in order to be declared a winner, versus just selecting one candidate, and if that candidate is eliminated, your vote will now no longer get transferred to the remaining candidates of your choosing. So some expectations with this new voting system. We do want to be transparent. Voting will take longer because of the length of the ballot, the number of contests, and the number of candidates that are running, recognizing that this is a new voting system as well, and giving people some time and grace to be able to figure it out. Just keep that in mind when you decide how you would like to vote. Recommending, voting via paper ballot or even via mail ballot, and so you can take your time and not feel rushed at a vote center or have to wait in long lines to be able to vote. But that's up to the voter's discretion as well. Regardless of the way that you choose to vote, there will be enough guidance and instructions on how to properly vote. At our vote centers, we will have trained site coordinators who will answer any questions regarding ranked choice voting. Every DC voter does receive a mail-in ballot, and those will also have detailed instructions on how to completely fill out your ballot accurately, and also denote some mistakes that will result in your ballot being marked as inactive or invalid. We also have mailers which we'll share in the mail stream, and we have 2 more between now and June that will outline some more information on ranked choice voting. In terms of what results will look like, there are similarities in the sense that on election night we still will release preliminary results as we've done in the past. What will look different is in the way that the results reporting schedule and election certification, and that's because we at the board are still deciding if we'll do the tabulation at the end of the 10-day period that we have to receive mail-in ballots, so long as they are postmarked by election day, or if we're going to do tabulation every day leading up to that 10-day period. But regardless of which avenue we choose to proceed with, we will share the results of each round for each of the contests as they become available. So DC voters and DC residents will be able to know the live results of each contest and be able to see how a winner is determined every single step of the way as well. In terms of what other materials that we have to ensure that we educate DC residents before June 16th is we do have a webpage on our website dedicated to ranked choice voting. So that's just dcboe.org/RCV. This page does have access to a sample ballot which you can download. It also has some FAQs that also have been touched on in this presentation. There is an election tabulation tool where you can vote for your favorite ice cream flavors and actually see a live demonstration of how tabulation occurs and the process of determining a winner. So you can see the candidates or the ice cream flavors get eliminated and see how a winner is in fact selected that way. We do have a lot of in-person and even virtual presentations and workshops. We also bring voting equipment to some of our in-person engagements. We do have sample paper ballots that we also bring to all of our in-person presentations to ensure that on election day or during early voting is not the first time that DC residents are seeing this new ballot form and ballot design. And DC voters go into the election season knowing exactly what the ballot will look like. And that way there are no surprises. And there will be a voter guide that's mailed. We also will have 2 more mailers, as mentioned earlier, that just talks about ranked choice voting, and ensure that, we meet every resident where they're at by attending numerous community events, whether that's resource fairs, presenting at ANC meetings, even presenting to junior and senior high school students, ensuring that we also enter senior housing facilities, senior wellness centers, rehab centers, as well as homeless shelters, to ensure that anybody that is registered to vote is able to vote and feels empowered enough to do so with this new system. So that marks the end of my presentation. As mentioned, we are taking outreach event requests. So if you're interested in us coming to speak to your community about ranked choice voting, we ask that you reach out to us at outreach@dcboe.org in order to get you scheduled prior to the June primary election. Thank you all so much.